You ever hear something so out of pocket, you literally stop breathing for a second? That was me. Last year, I was standing in my stepdad's kitchen, still holding a F-socking bag of groceries I just bought for them, organic shati too, cause mom used to care about that, and out of nowhere he goes, "You're just like your mother. Useless." That line hit me like a slap. But worse cause it didn't even come from rage, it was casual. Like he really believed it. And the worst part? Layla, my half-sister, didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Just kept scrolling through her phone like I wasn't even there. Let me back up. My name's Noah, I'm 29, software engineer, live in Austin now. Got a decent job, nothing fancy, but enough to live okay, save some help out when people ask. Except in my family, helping out somehow became expected. After mom died when I was 14, Paul, her second husband, did the whole "I'll take care of you like my own" act for maybe 6 months. Then it turned into, "You're a man now. Don't expect handouts." Cool. So I didn't. I worked, I studied, I figured out how to code in between folding towels at Target and closing out registers at a gas station, paid for my own laptop, my own tuition, my own rent. Meanwhile, Layla Goldenchild. She was Paul's daughter, my half-sister. She got everything handed to her. Dance classes, camera gear, a damn podcast had set up at 18. Now she's a life coach influencer on TikTok, coaching divine energy realignment or some vague crap like that. Fast forward to last year. I had been helping them with bills for years. It started with, "Hey Noah, can you cover the electric this month?" Then groceries, then Wi-Fi, then half their rent. At some point I was just paying the whole thing. I didn't even realize when it happened. Because every time I visited, Paul would say stuff like, "Man, Layla's doing great. She just needs more time to monetize. Algorithms are weird these days. This apartment's a blessing. We just need help keeping it a little longer." Every time I'd nod, smile, transfer the money, and drive home feeling like crap. But I kept doing it. Because stupid me, I thought maybe this was just what being family meant. Maybe this was me being the man mom raised me to be. Except they weren't just struggling. They were spending. New shoes for Layla, Postmates every day, studio lights, crypto wallets, branding courses that cost more than my rent. I started noticing but didn't say anything. Until that one Sunday. It was hot as hell mid-June. I had just wrapped up a brutal sprint at work, hadn't slept in 2 days. I thought maybe I'd drop by, bring food, say hey. Paul was waiting at the door, arms crossed, Layla on the couch, phone glued to her face. And he didn't even let me get in the door before he said, "We need to talk about how much you're really contributing here." I blinked, thought I misheard. "You do okay," he added. "It's time you gave back. You've been coasting long enough." Coasting, dude. I've been bankrolling your damn rent since 2021. I tried to stay calm. "I already help you every month," Paul scoffed. "A few hundred? That's nothing. Layla's building something big, and this apartment, it's not just a home, it's her business now." I laughed, like genuinely let out a sharp, bitter laugh. I didn't even mean to. What part of scrolling TikTok counts as business? Layla looked up at that, gave me this icy look like I just insulted world peace. "Wow," she said, "you don't get it at all. You're so small-minded." That did it. I dropped the grocery bags on the floor. Avocados rolled across the tile. Nobody moved to pick them up. "I've paid your rent, your bills, your damn almond milk," I snapped. "And now you're telling me I'm not doing enough, that I'm the problem." Paul stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "You've always thought you were better than us. Just like your mom. Selfish, judgmental, useless." Useless. That word lit a fuse. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just nodded. "Okay," I said. And I walked out. No dramatic exit. No slamming doors. I got in my car and drove straight back to my apartment. When I got home, I deleted the recurring payments on my banking app. Then I turned off my phone and slept for 14 hours straight. I hadn't slept like that in years. But of course it didn't end there. That was just the start. Because 3 weeks later, they tried to turn the whole internet against me. 3 weeks. That's how long it took before the silence got loud again. At first it was kind of peaceful. No calls, no guilt-tripping texts, no weird just checking in from Layla. Just quiet, like I'd finally hit pause on a toxic-ass playlist. Then out of nowhere, I wake up on a Saturday morning, check my phone, and there it is. A Venmo request. $3,400. Memo back pay, March, June. I actually laughed out loud. I thought it was a joke, like, haha, good one. Then I saw who it was from. Layla. I didn't respond, just closed the app and went to make coffee. Not even 10 minutes later, my phone starts blowing up. Notifications, tags, DMs. All from people I went to high school with, coworkers. I barely talked to a girl I haven't seen since freshman year. All of them sending the same thing. A TikTok. Layla posted a F** seeking TikTok. It was her full-on crocodile tears sitting on the living room couch. The couch I probably paid for, BTW, talking directly into the camera like she was on Dr. Phil. I didn't want to say anything, but my brother cut us off, just out of nowhere. He said we weren't worth it, and now we're 3 months behind on rent. My dad's sick, and I'm trying to keep my business going, but she sniffled. Some people just don't know how to be family. That last line, that's what sent me. Because I know her. I know that tone. I know that little dramatic pause she does. She was angling for sympathy, and judging by the comments, it was working. People were eating that *tup. OMG, you don't deserve that. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. Stay strong, Queen family isn't always family. I was fuming, like shaking, kind of mad, because she was using the exact same voice she used when she lied to our aunt about me forgetting her birthday in middle school. The same damn formula. Victim, vulnerable, vague, but never enough detail for anyone to question it. And she tagged me. Tagged me. I stared at the screen for probably an hour, just processing. Rage, hurt, confusion, all wrapped in this heavy-ass pit in my chest. I wanted to call her, yell, rip the mask off, but then something in me clicked. You already played the fool, now play the F** kicking game, so I didn't reply. Instead I got petty, but not loud petty, strategic petty. Step 1, receipts. I opened my banking app, pulled up every single transfer I'd ever sent them, labeled them, dated them, screenshots for days. It was over $18,000 across 3 years. I checked the leasing office contact too. Called them super casual. Hey, just wondering, are y'all still managing Unit 3A? They were. I asked if the lease was still active. The manager, Pam, recognized my name immediately. Oh, Mr. Harris, yes, we've been trying to reach the current tenant. They're extremely behind, and unfortunately, the account's not in your name anymore, so we can't update you on specifics. But she said enough. Enough to know Layla and Paul hadn't paid rent in over half a year, even while I was still sending them money. So what the hell were they doing with it? I didn't have to wait long to find out. Later that night, I went down the rabbit hole. Layla's coaching business, not just one account, she had 3. An LLC registered under her name, a spiritual mentorship site that charged $97/month for something called energy alignment check-ins, and an Instagram bio that read, "Manifesting luxury plus soft life, DM to work with me." Soft life, huh? Interesting considering she was crying online about rent money. It was all right there. Dozens of videos showing off deliveries from Fashion Nova skincare, hauls Starbucks every damn day. There was even a reel where she literally said, "It's not about how much money you have. It's about believing you deserve more." I almost threw my phone. Paul wasn't any better. A quick dig on Facebook and I found out he'd joined some crypto Discord group last year. Talked about flipping coins and early retirement. The dude who once told me college was a scam was now betting on digital horse races. It was almost funny. Almost. I knew what I had to do. I didn't want revenge just to feel better. I wanted accountability. I wanted the mask off. I wanted people to see what I had seen for years. But I also didn't want to start a flame war online. That wasn't my style. So I went quiet, spent the whole weekend putting together a post. Just facts, just receipts, neutral tone, no insults. Sunday night I posted it. On Reddit, on my private Insta story, even on LinkedIn, because Paul had tagged me there before claiming I mentored Layla's business. Hey folks, just wanted to clarify some things I've been tagged in lately. From 2023, I sent over $18K to my family to help cover rent, utilities, and expenses. I never asked for repayment. I did it because I believed they were struggling. However, while those funds were being sent, it appears no rent was actually being paid, and the funds were used for personal spending courses and non-essentials. I've now stopped all financial support, and any attempt to frame me as the villain in this story is both dishonest and manipulative. I wish them healing, but not at my expense anymore. Make drop. The fallout was instant. Layla deleted her TikTok. Paul's Facebook went private. My DMs exploded this time with people apologizing, people saying they had no idea, people sending me their own stories of being financially milked by family. One girl wrote, "Dude, my sister did the same thing. I paid her rent for 2 years while she was flying to Tulum. Thank you for saying this out loud." I didn't even know her, but I felt that. But the best part? 2 days later, Paul texted me, "You didn't have to humiliate us like that." I stared at it. Then I typed back, "I didn't. You did that yourselves. I just held up a mirror." Sent, blocked. I felt lighter. Not happy, not triumphant, but lighter. And that's when I realized this wasn't revenge. It was release. But it still wasn't over. 'Cause Layla, she doesn't go down easy. She had one more card up her sleeve, and I'd be damned if I let her play it. 3 days. That's how long the silence lasted after I posted my receipts. And I should have known. I should have known she wouldn't take the L quietly. Because on the 4th day, Thursday morning, I woke up to a F***king email. Not a text, not a DM. An actual email from Layla. Subject line, legal notice of defamation and emotional distress. I nearly choked on my coffee. She'd typed it in this ridiculous formal tone like she was her own lawyer, full of phrases like public character assassination, emotional trauma, and cease and desist, all slanderous content. Sis copied this *T off a Google template and thought she was Elle Woods. I scrolled to the end. Attached was a PDF, a self-written document titled, "Formal Demand for Financial Compensation and Online Retraction." I had to walk away for a second. Breathe, come back, reread. She was demanding I send $10,000 to cover damages to her brand and issue a public apology video. I wish I was joking. That was the moment something snapped inside me. Not anger, not even shock anymore. Just this weird mix of exhaustion and clarity. She really thought she could bully her way back into my wallet. After everything. After all the lies, the manipulation, the crying online while hiding designer shopping bags behind the camera. She wanted to control the story again, and I wasn't about to let that happen, so I didn't respond. I went to work. Step 1, I called a real lawyer. My guy Chris, college buddy turned contract lawyer, picked up on the second ring. "Dude, if this is about that influencer sister of yours, I already saw the Reddit post." Turns out he was already 2 steps ahead, sent me a template of a response letter. Legit, legal, clean. But then he said something that really hit. "You want to end this for real? You need leverage. Public truth is one thing, but legal leverage, that shuts it all down." So I asked him what that would look like. He said audit the transfers. If there's any way she accepted money under business pretenses, I might be able to reclaim some of it. At the very least, I could report the LLC for tax evasion. So that weekend, I became a one-man IRS. I combed through every PayPal note, every Venmo memo, every Zelle receipt, and sure enough, there it was. Multiple transfers labeled, brand support, startup, help, mentorship, loan. Those weren't gifts, those were investments, and she never disclosed them anywhere. Not on her business filings, not on her taxes. You want to talk about defamation? Girl, you're one IRS flag away from auditing your soul. I gathered everything, sent it to Chris. He grinned through the phone. So you're finally playing chess, huh? I laughed for the first time in weeks. Step 2, emotional closure. I know it sounds corny, but after you've been used for so long, after people twist your loyalty into a leash, there comes a point where you don't just want justice, you want freedom. So I wrote Layla back. Short, cold, precise. Layla. I've reviewed your email and allegations. Every statement I posted was supported with documented evidence. The funds I sent you were either labeled for rent or as business support, both of which you failed to use as stated. Any further false claims made against me will be forwarded to legal counsel. Attached are records you may want to review before threatening me again. I will not be sending a retraction. I will not be paying you anything. You're welcome to continue your journey, but you will do it without my name in your mouth or my money in your pocket. Noah? Then I attached a file labeled For Your Records. Inside all the transfer screenshots, all the email receipts, and a screenshot of her LLC listing with an arrow pointing to active audit risk. I sent it. Red receipt popped up in 5 minutes. She never replied. But Paul did. A few hours later, I got a call from a random number. Usually I don't answer, but something told me to pick up. You happy now? It was him. No greeting, just straight venom. You dragged your family through the mud. You humiliated us. You embarrassed Layla in front of her clients. I cut him off. Oh, so she does have clients now. Silence? We gave you everything, he snapped. A roof, a name. We raised you. I laughed. Couldn't help it. You raised me to believe love was conditional. That loyalty meant silence. You taught me that the only way to be accepted was to serve. Then I paused. But here's the thing. I'm done serving. He started to say something else, but I hung up. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Which usually means one of two things. Either they're regrouping, or they're finally realizing you're not coming back. This time it was both. Because I got a final text, just one, from Layla. You really destroyed us. Hope it was worth it. No emoji, no threats, just that. And yeah, it stung a little. For a second. But then I remembered every late night where I transferred money instead of buying groceries for myself. Every fake thank you followed by another ask. Every birthday ignored. Every holiday I spent alone while they posted family selfies with captions like, "Grateful for the ones who show up." Yeah, I showed up, over and over. Until I didn't. That night I sat down with my journal, the one I never tell anyone I keep, and wrote. Closure doesn't always feel clean. Sometimes it's bitter, petty, and ugly. But if it gets you free, then it's holy. And I meant that. A week later, I got a letter. From the leasing office, Unit 3, A had been vacated, lease closed, no forwarding address, no contact info. They were gone. Part of me expected to feel guilty. But all I felt was peace. Like I finally got out of a burning house and realized my skin didn't blister because I jumped in time. I don't know where they went. I don't care. Maybe she's coaching people in another city. Maybe Paul's trying to flip crypto in Idaho. That's not my story anymore. Mine. I'm still in Austin. Still working, still saving, still drinking cheap-ass coffee with oat milk because that's what I like. I sleep through the night now. I don't check my phone dreading who's asking for what. I'm starting to build my own kind of family. Friends who show up not because they need something but because they want to. And maybe that's all the revenge I needed. But here's the funny part. That post I made, the one with the receipts, it went viral again, months later. Someone reposted it to a subreddit called r/family scams. Now it's got 200K upvotes. A podcast wants to interview me. Guess they didn't realize. When you stop being their ATM, you become someone's warning. I wasn't expecting it to go viral again. Honestly, I'd kind of forgotten about the post. It was buried under life work, laundry, meal prepping, like I was suddenly someone who had his *T together. Then randomly I get this notification, "You've been tagged in a comment on Reddit." I click it, and there it is. My post. The one I wrote months ago. The one with the receipts. The quiet mic drop energy. The "I'm done" statement I thought would vanish into the void. But nope, someone reposted it to RR Family Scams. A whole new subreddit. New crowd. New anger. This time it hit even harder. People were sharing their own stories in the comments. Hundreds of them. My dad took out a loan in my name. I only found out when I applied for an apartment. I covered my sister's childcare for 2 years. Then she blocked me when I couldn't pay for her Cancun trip. It's wild how many people think your family means you're funding my poor decisions. Reading it felt like therapy I didn't have to pay for. I wasn't alone, and damn, that mattered more than I expected. Then something even weirder happened. I got an email. No subject, just this: "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm your cousin Rachel. I saw the post. I just wanted to say I believe you." I blinked. Rachel. I hadn't heard that name since I was maybe 15. She was my mom's niece. We used to play board games at Thanksgiving. After Mom passed, Paul kind of cut everyone off from her side of the family. Said they were leeches. I believed him at the time. I was a kid, and desperate for someone to tell me what was normal. I clicked reply. "Rachel, holy *T. Yeah, I remember you. I'm honestly shocked to hear from you. Thank you." She responded 10 minutes later, and then we just started catching up. Emails turned into texts, texts turned into calls. She filled in blanks I didn't even know existed, like how Paul had kept the money from Mom's life insurance and told everyone I was too fragile to handle it. Like how Layla used to DM people from fake burner accounts pretending to be her own fans. Like how my grandparents had tried to contact me for years, but Paul always said I wasn't interested. That one hit hard. Do they even know where I am now? I asked. Rachel paused, then said, "They know now. I showed them the post." My heart did this weird lurch. I don't know what I expected. Anger, judgment. But then she said, "Your grandpa cried?" He said, "That's my boy. I always knew he was stronger than they told him." And I lost it a little. Not sobbing, not falling to the floor or anything. But I sat on my bed, stared at the ceiling, and let the weight hit me. They didn't forget me, they just couldn't reach me. A week later, I booked a flight, back to Ohio, first time in over a decade. I didn't tell anyone except Rachel. She picked me up from the airport in this beat-up red Honda that smelled like sour candy and dog hair. Same as I remembered. We pulled up to my grandparents' house, and suddenly I was 12 again, holding a toy lightsaber and begging for one more hour of cartoons. The door opened before we even knocked. My grandma was there. And let me tell you, nothing prepares you for that moment. That holy *T, you're real, you're alive, and you still look at me like I matter moment. She hugged me like the world was ending. My grandpa came out next, slower, leaning on a cane, but with that same steel in his eyes. He didn't say much, just patted my shoulder and said, "You look tired. Come eat." I don't even remember the food. I just remember the feeling. Safe, warm, uncomplicated. We talked for hours. About nothing. About everything. My grandma pulled out this old photo album. Yes, an actual printed one, with handwritten notes next to each pic, and showed me baby pictures I hadn't seen in 20 years. Then she said something that wrecked me. "We thought about sending them to you, but every time we asked Paul for your address, he said you didn't want contact." I clenched my jaw. Yeah, that tracks. She just sighed. Didn't push, didn't scold, just reached over and held my hand. That night, in their guest room, I laid in bed staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly, And I thought about Layla, about Paul, about how easy it would have been to stay in their web. Because that's the thing, no one tells you about toxic family. They don't look evil. They look like people who mean well. They sound like maybe they have a point. They make you doubt yourself in the softest, sneakiest ways. But now I had distance, and with distance comes clarity. Back in Austin a few days later, I was different. Not dramatically, not visibly, but something inside me had shifted. Like I'd put the last piece in a puzzle I didn't know I was building. A podcast producer slid into my DMs, said they wanted to do a story on financial abuse within families, asked if I'd be willing to talk. I thought about it. And then I said yes, because someone out there needed to hear it. Someone who was where I'd been confused, drained, guilt-ridden, deserved to know it's okay to walk away. It's okay to choose yourself. The interview was raw. I told everything, not just the money, not just the receipts, but the emotional stuff, the loneliness, the gaslighting, the way it felt to be loved conditionally, to be seen as a bank account with legs. I thought I'd feel exposed. But instead, I felt powerful. Not because I'd won, not because Layla or Paul had crumbled, but because for the first time in my life, I was telling my story my way, and no one could shut me up. The episode aired a week later. It exploded. People messaged me from all over. Nurses in Canada, college students in South Africa, single moms in Michigan. All of them with some version of the same thing. I thought I was the only one. Thank you for making me feel less crazy. I finally cut off my brother after listening to this. And I realized the best revenge is helping other people get free too. A few months passed. Then one day, I got a letter. Like an actual envelope, handwritten, no return address. Inside was a folded piece of paper and a check. $25, memo for everything I owed. The handwriting was familiar. Layla. No note, no apology, just that. I stared at it for a solid 10 minutes. Then I laughed. It was so, passive-aggressive, hollow, performed, not felt. I tore up the check, tossed it in the trash. That chapter was closed. Now, I'm not perfect. I still flinch when I get unknown calls. Still second-guess when people say, "Can I ask a favor?" But I'm building something new. Boundaries, respect, real relationships that don't bleed me dry. And when people ask about my family, I say, "They raised me just enough to teach me how to leave." Then I smile. Because I left, and I'm never going back. It's weird how quickly I survived turns into I want to help someone else survive too. A couple months after the podcast dropped, I was getting DMs every week, sometimes every day, people who heard my story and saw themselves in it. Most were short. "Thank you for saying what I couldn't. Your story gave me the guts to say no. I cut my mom off last night. I'm terrified, but also free." But then I got this one message from a guy named Malik. It was longer, rough around the edges, no punctuation, no small talk, just, "My older sister been using me since I got this job. She's got 3 kids. I love them, but she calls me every week asking for money. I pay her rent, her groceries. She told me I'm abandoning them if I stop, but I'm tired, bro. I'm really tired. Do I have a right to stop?" That last line. Do I have a right to stop? Wrecked me. Because yeah, beneath all the receipts, legal warnings, and Reddit threads, that's what it always came down to. Do I get to say no? Do I still get to be a good person if I choose myself? I messaged him back. Didn't try to give him advice right away. Just said, "Yeah, man, you have every right, and it doesn't make you cold. It makes you conscious." He sent me a thumbs up. Then we talked more over the next few days. Voice notes, quick texts, nothing dramatic, just one guy helping another guy not lose himself to guilt. And that became a thing. helping people who felt like they owed their sanity to everyone but themselves. Somewhere in there, I realized I wasn't just healing, I was building. Building friendships that weren't lopsided. Connections based on presence, not pity. I started hanging out more real-life stuff. Board game nights, trivia bars, cheap tacos on Tuesday. Simple, stupid fun that didn't involve performing or rescuing anyone. Then I met Jules. She was at a mutual friend's BBQ. Curly hair, chipped nails, this giant sarcastic laugh that could break glass. She made a joke about how every family has a designated scapegoat, and I swear I almost choked on my drink. We clicked fast, too fast, maybe. By the third time we hung out, I felt it creeping in that tension. Not in the room, but in me, like my brain was already scanning for red flags. Is she going to ask for something? Is this too good? Am I walking into another Layla situation? It sucked. I'd built this solid wall around myself, and now someone was making me wonder if I even wanted a door in it. One night, we were walking back to her car after grabbing coffee, and she looked over and said, "You always feel like you're half here, like part of you's waiting for an emergency." I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything, just nodded. The next day, she texted, "I like you, but I'm not going to play therapist. Talk to me when you're ready to be real." And for the first time in a long time, I felt scared. Not the kind of fear I felt with Paul. Not the **T, someone's gonna take advantage of me fear. This was different. This was what if someone actually wants me to show up as me. So I called her. We sat in my car, windows cracked, summer heat pressing in. And I told her everything. Layla, Paul, the money, the viral post, the podcast, the guilt, the rage, the relief, the fear of losing control again. She didn't flinch, didn't pity me, didn't try to fix it, just listened. And then she said, "You know what the scariest part of healing is? Realizing that peace feels unfamiliar when you've lived in chaos." And damn, yeah, from there, things got better. Not perfect, but better. We moved slow. She had her own stuff, family drama, career burnout, exes who made her doubt her own value. But we gave each other space to figure it out. No rescue missions, no keeping score, just mutual respect. Around that time, Malik hit me up again. Told me he finally stopped sending money. Told his sister he couldn't do it anymore. That he loved her, but he wasn't going to sync with her. She blocked him, of course. But 2 weeks later, she called back, not to yell, to talk. I think she just needed to see I wasn't a doormat. He said it was like the first real conversation we ever had. And that felt better than any revenge. Because it wasn't about punishing anyone. It was about reclaiming your role in your own life. And here's the real twist no one talks about. Once you stop letting people drain you, you realize how much of yourself you actually have. I started sleeping better, dreaming again. Not those weird anxiety dreams where my teeth fall out or I'm late for an exam I didn't study for, but real dreams. Of travel, of writing, of maybe one day starting a nonprofit to help people caught in financial abuse cycles. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was creating. I still get messages sometimes. Strangers pouring their hearts out in my DMs. I've been paying my dad's rent for 7 years. I'm 24. My mom guilted me into canceling college to raise my siblings. I haven't bought new shoes in 3 years because my brother needs me. I read them all, and I always reply the same way. Your boundaries aren't cruelty. Your peace isn't selfish. You're allowed to choose yourself. One night, Jules asked me, "Do you ever miss them? Your old family?" I thought about it. And yeah, part of me does. Not the manipulation, not the drama. But the hope that one day they'd treat me like more than a resource. But that hope, it was killing me. So I let it go. Now I've got new traditions. Sunday pancakes with Jules. Group hikes that end in greasy burgers. A group chat full of people who send dumb memes and ugly crying selfies when life hits hard. It's not perfect. But it's real, and that's more than I ever thought I'd have. Sometimes, when I'm feeling reflective or drunk, I scroll back to that first post, the one where I said, I wasn't done yet, not even close, and I smile. 'Cause I didn't know then, I wasn't just walking away. I was walking towards something better. It had been about a year since everything blew up. Layla, Paul, the post, the podcast, the chaos. Life was calm now, and I was learning to trust that calm didn't always mean something bad was about to happen. Sometimes it just meant calm. I had routines, people who respected my boundaries, weekends that weren't spent dreading phone calls. Jules and I were solid, nothing dramatic. No fireworks every 5 minutes, just consistent care. And honestly, I thought I was done with the past, like sealed in a box, dropped in the ocean, kinda done. But then one Tuesday morning, I got a call, unknown number. Normally I don't answer those anymore, but this one, something about it made me pause. I picked up, hello. There was a beat of silence. Then, Noah, it's Uncle Rob. From your mom's side. Boom, instant emotional whiplash. Rob was my mom's youngest brother. I hadn't seen or heard from him since the funeral. I was 13. He brought me a little black wristwatch and told me to call if I ever needed anything. Paul told me not to, said Rob was a bleeding heart who'd try to turn me against the family. So I didn't, not for 20 years. He sounded older now. Slower, but his voice had that same softness I remembered, like the kind of guy who apologizes when he gets bumped into. I know this is out of nowhere, he said, but I saw your story. Rachel showed me, and I've been trying to work up the nerve to call. I didn't know what to say, so I just said, thanks for calling. He laughed. Still quiet? Huh. We talked for an hour, caught up, filled in blanks. Turns out, he moved back to town, teaching art at a community center. Doing okay, but recently got sick. Nothing fatal, just a string of bad luck hospital bills. Meds, couldn't work for a while. That's when he said it. I hate to even ask, but I could use a little help, just until I'm back on my feet. And just like that, every alarm in my body went off. It was like muscle memory, heart rate up, jaw tight, voice flat. My brain started shouting. Don't do it. They're all the same. Help once and you're back on the hook forever. But another part of me whispered something softer. What if he's not Layla? What if he's actually asking, not expecting? I told him I'd think about it, that I wasn't making promises. He said he understood, hung up with a quiet, take care, kid. The next few days, I wrestled with it. I talked to Jules. Do you think I'd be stupid to help him? She thought for a minute, then said, only if you do it out of guilt, but if it's from choice on your terms, that's different. That stuck with me. Because she was right. Helping isn't the problem. Being used is, and now I knew the difference. So I called Rob back, told him I'd send a small amount one time, no strings, no promise of more. He didn't argue, didn't push, just said, thank you, I mean it. And you know what? It felt okay. No resentment, no regret. Because it wasn't about trying to fix him. It wasn't about proving I'm still a good person. It was about choosing to help someone who actually respects a no. A few weeks later, he emailed me a photo. It was a sketch of my mom, from memory. She's sitting on the porch of her old house, barefoot, cup of tea in her hand, laughing at something out of frame. The lines were soft, gentle, full of life. I stared at it for a long time. And I cried, not from grief, Not from pain, from relief. Because for the first time, I felt like maybe I wasn't carrying all of her alone. The more time passed, the more clear everything became. Layla and Paul, I don't check on them, don't Google them, don't care. I heard through someone that Paul's coaching some weird startup group now. Layla switched cities again. Another rebrand. Another round of curated victimhood. It doesn't bother me. Because I'm not in that story anymore. Instead, I started writing. Like, really writing. Essays. A short story. Even started drafting a book about financial manipulation, gaslighting, and how cutting off toxic family doesn't make you cruel. One of the chapters is called Love Doesn't Look Like Leverage. Sometimes people ask if I'd ever reconcile, if Layla suddenly apologized, if Paul showed up with real remorse. And you know what? Maybe. But not because I owe it to them, only if they stop demanding grace without doing the work to deserve it. Forgiveness is not free, and my peace. That shit's priceless now. Last week, Malik texted me again. It's been a year. Man, I'm good. I even started saving, like, real savings. Bought a couch with my own money. Wild. I laughed. Then he sent one more text. You changed my life, bro. And I sat there, phone in hand, thinking, nah, man, I just reminded you were allowed to live it. So that's where I'm at now. Still doing regular life stuff, still learning to trust good things. Still remembering that boundaries don't have to be walls, they can be doors with locks, and I hold the key. That's what this whole journey taught me. You can love people without letting them drain you. You can be kind without being used. You can leave and still wish them well from a distance. And if you're reading this, wondering if you've gone too far by cutting someone off, or if you're selfish for choosing peace over loyalty, let me say it clearly. You're not selfish, you're sane. You don't owe your well-being to anyone who treats your kindness like a subscription. You're allowed to say, this isn't love, it's control. This isn't support, it's guilt. This isn't home, it's a trap. And then walk away, head high, heart steady, because some of us weren't raised by soft hands. We were forged by pressure, polished by betrayal, hardened by love that had conditions, and still we made it. Whole, healing, human, free, story 2. You ever look back at a moment and wonder how the hell you missed all the signs? That was me. For 6 years, I thought I was building a future with the love of my life. Turns out, I was just funding rehearsal space for her affair. My name's Marcus, and until a month ago, I thought I had it all figured out. A stable career in real estate, a girlfriend who made people say relationship goals, and a best friend I would have trusted with my life literally. Her name was Eliza. We met in our early 20s at a house party hosted by a mutual friend. She wore this ridiculous leather jacket 2 sizes too big, said she found it in a thrift bin, and I thought she was the coolest woman I'd ever met. Smart, funny, creative. We clicked instantly, the kind of click that makes you cancel your dating apps within the week. Fast forward a few years, we moved in together, adopted a dog, and started sharing bills and dreams. I even handed over part of my apartment lease to her without blinking. Yeah, let that sink in. Then there was my best friend, Paul. We met sophomore year at university, roommates in the crappiest dorm you've ever seen. He was the extrovert to my introvert, loud in ways that used to be charming. We stayed close after graduation, even when life pulled us in different directions. He introduced me to his now wife, Ava. I even helped him pick out her engagement ring. So when Paul asked me to be his best man, I said yes before he even finished the sentence. I was honored. Eliza seemed thrilled for him too. She threw herself into the wedding prep like it was our own. Looking back, that should have been my first red flag. She offered to help Ava with planning, attended tastings I couldn't make, joined Paul for last-minute venue visits when Ava was swamped at work. I'm just being helpful. She'd say, Ava's overwhelmed. Helpful. Sure. She was so helpful she ended up horizontal in Paul's back seat, my back seat, to be exact. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The wedding was set at this high-end mountain resort that made you forget about the economy for a second. Wood-paneled halls, roaring fireplaces, waiters that made eye contact like they cared. We arrived a day early so Eliza could attend the rehearsal dinner. I had planned to join too, but I wasn't feeling well. Stress headaches, exhaustion, the usual post-quarter burnout. She kissed my forehead and said, "Get some rest, I'll bring you cake." Instead, she brought me betrayal. Later that night, around 10:30, I realized I'd left my medication in the glove box, so I threw on a hoodie and walked to the parking garage. That's when everything shifted. There they were, Paul and Eliza, in my car, windows fogged, her laugh echoing off the concrete. I froze. It was one of those surreal, slow-motion moments where your brain lags behind your eyes. My heart didn't just sink, it imploded. I didn't storm the car. I didn't yell. I didn't even make a sound. I just turned and walked. Fast. I couldn't go back to the room. I couldn't even breathe properly. So I wandered around the halls of that resort until I found a bar stool in the lobby lounge, ordered a drink I didn't touch, and tried to make sense of what I saw. That's when I heard the laughter from a nearby side room, half cracked open, voices I knew too well. My friends, Paul's groomsmen, a few of our college crew. They were sitting around with drinks, talking, and laughing about me. Dude still has no idea. Someone said, 6 years together and he's completely in the dark. Another chimed in, it's sad, honestly. Then came the gut punch. Paul said it started during that Tahoe trip. So, what, 2 years now? 2 years. And everyone knew. I should have walked in. I should have broken something. Instead, I backed away and went back to the room. Eliza wasn't back yet. I sat on the edge of the bed, hands trembling, heart in my throat. I gave myself 15 minutes to fall apart. Then I stood up and stared in the mirror like I was meeting myself for the first time. They thought I was stupid, that I'd just roll with it, that I was the oblivious side character in their twisted little love story. But here's the thing about me: when I break, I don't shatter. I sharpen. I wasn't going to confront them. That would have been too easy, too small. No, I was going to let them wake up, get dressed, walk down the aisle thinking they'd pulled it off. I'd smile, I'd shake hands, I'd give my speech, and then I'd set their carefully staged fantasy on fire. Quietly, precisely, publicly. Because if you're going to betray someone, you better hope they're not the kind of person who knows how to deliver poetic justice. I packed my bags, hid them in my car, slept maybe 2 hours that night. The next morning, I played my role. I helped Paul with his tux, told Ava how beautiful she looked during makeup touch-ups. Eliza kissed my cheek like nothing happened, like she wasn't hours away from becoming Exhibit A in the most humiliating moment of her life. And no one suspected a thing. Not yet. But that's the thing about betrayal. It always thinks it's safe until it hears the fuse. And I was holding the match. I stood outside the venue that morning and stared at the massive glass doors like they were gates to some alternate universe. One where I was still the idiot best friend, still the loyal boyfriend, one where none of this had happened. But this wasn't that universe. Not anymore. Inside, everything looked like a Pinterest board come to life. White roses, crystal chandeliers, violin music echoing from hidden speakers. I walked in like I belonged, smiled, fist bumped the groomsmen who laughed behind my back the night before. I even hugged Paul, the man who turned my life into a punchline. He said, "You good, bro?" "Never better," I replied, and I meant it. I kept up the performance all morning, helped with cufflinks, took selfies, even gave Eliza my coat when she complained it was cold. She looked up at me, her eyes soft. "You're such a good man, Marcus." I almost laughed. See, the best revenge stories don't start with fury. They start with patience. That slow, coiled tension. You let them build their house of lies, brick by brick, and then you pull out the foundation while they're still smiling. I checked my phone just once to make sure everything was cued. My hidden camera app had done its job the night before. The footage was clear. Time-stamped, sound included. The one thing I never thought I'd need to record in my own damn car. The venue's AV team thought I was just being sweet, offering to manage the wedding slideshow. It's a surprise gift. I told them, photos, memories, a short video. No one questioned it. I uploaded 2 versions to the projector system, one with old college photos and engagement party clips, the other with truth. As guests began filling in the seats, I sat down near the front. Paul and Ava were moments from making it official. She looked stunning. By the way, radiant. The kind of radiant you get when you think your life is about to begin. The officiant cleared his throat. Please rise for the bride. The music swelled. Ava walked down the aisle. Her smile bright, bouquet trembling just slightly. Paul watched her like she was the only person in the room. And then I stood up. Sorry, I said, loud enough to ripple through the room. Before we begin, I'd like to say something about the groom. My best friend, Paul. Whispers, a few chuckles. Someone clapped, assuming it was a toast. Paul looked confused. Eliza stiffened beside me, her fingers tightening around my arm. Marcus, what are you doing? She whispered. I turned toward the crowd. Paul's not just a groom today. He's also the guy who's been sleeping with my girlfriend for the last 2 years. Silence. The kind that feels thick, suffocating. Ava blinked. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. I continued, my voice steady. Yeah, you heard that right. Last night, while the rest of you were toasting their forever, I caught Paul and Eliza in my car, in the parking garage, making use of the back seat like a couple of teenagers who couldn't wait. The room gasped. Eliza turned pale. Paul just froze. You want proof? I asked, pulling my phone from my jacket. Cool, let's roll the video. I tapped the screen. The lights dimmed. And up on that giant white wall behind the altar, reality played out in full HD. The footage was sharp, clear. There was no denying who it was. Their voices, their laughter, her saying, "We'll be quick." Ava staggered backward like someone had punched her. Her mother screamed. Her father stepped forward with clenched fists. One of the groomsmen dropped his champagne glass. It shattered on the marble. Eliza was sobbing. Marcus, please, stop. I turned to her, calmly. You already did. Paul finally moved toward me. Big mistake. He lunged, but I was ready. I sidestepped, grabbed his arm, and shoved him straight into the wedding cake. A 6-tier buttercream monstrosity that exploded like a dairy volcano all over his rented tux. Gasps turned into laughter. It was chaos, and Ava yanked off her veil and threw it at Paul. You told me you changed. You begged me to believe you. Her voice cracked, but she didn't cry. She looked at him like he was something she'd scrape off her shoe. I didn't cheat, Paul said, covered in frosting. It was a mistake. You made the same mistake for 2 years, she shot back. Someone in the back muttered, this is better than Netflix. Eliza tried grabbing my hand again. Marcus, let's just talk. Please. I looked at her. Really looked. And all I saw was someone I didn't recognize anymore. There's nothing left to say. I said. Then I turned to the crowd. I just wanted you all to know that this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was betrayal. Rehearsed, repeated, and hidden behind smiles. Every single one of our friends who knew and said nothing, you're just as guilty. I walked out to a standing ovation of stunned silence and shattered illusions. My bags were already in my trunk. I got in my car, drove down the mountain, and never looked back. 3 hours later, my phone started buzzing. Paul, you ruined my life. Man, you had no right. Eliza, I didn't mean for this to happen. You pushed me away. Another friend. You went too far. Delete, block, silence. I spent that evening at a cheap diner outside town, eating pancakes and breathing for the first time in weeks. I looked around, no chandeliers, no violins, no lies, just syrup, coffee, and peace. And for the first time since I caught them, I smiled for real. I wasn't done, not yet, but I delivered the opening act. Next came the fallout, and oh, it was going to be delicious. You'd think a public meltdown like that would be enough to end things. You'd think the cheater and his accomplice would slink away quietly, maybe crawl into some dark corner of shame and stay there. But nah. People like Paul and Eliza, they don't just betray you and move on. They try to rewrite the narrative. By the time I finished my second stack of diner pancakes, my phone had lit up with a mess of messages, voicemails, and unread group chats. "Dude, what you did was nuclear." She was crying. "You humiliated her. You turned a wedding into a freaking crime scene." Yeah, that was the point. By the next morning, Eliza had posted a carefully worded Instagram story. "Sometimes emotions get messy. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. Please be kind." Paul reposted it, with a black and white picture of himself staring off a balcony like he was the tragic prince of betrayal. It was pathetic. But what really made me snap wasn't their damage control. It was the fact that some people started believing it. Some friends began messaging me with watered-down versions of support. "I'm not saying what they did was okay, but maybe you didn't have to do it that way. You embarrassed a lot of people. Marcus, you know what's embarrassing? Spending years with someone only to find out you were the background noise in your own relationship, that you were nothing but the unknowing plot device in someone else's twisted love story. Embarrassment doesn't begin to cover it." But pity nah, I wasn't there anymore. I was angry, cold, clear. And I was going to make sure the narrative didn't get flipped. If Paul and Eliza wanted a war of perception, they had no idea who they were messing with. Step 1. Control the story. I started small. First, I gathered screenshots messages Eliza sent me while she was supposedly busy with work. They were time-stamped right around when she was helping Paul with tux fittings. Then I compiled the footage. Not just from the wedding night, but the rehearsal dinner too. I'd caught Paul smirking, leaning in too close, Eliza giggling in that flirty tone she used to use on me. The body language was obvious once you knew what to look for. I packaged it all into a folder labeled "For Reference," uploaded it to a private drive, and shared it with two people, Ava the bride who almost married my best friend and Nicole, a mutual friend who actually had a spine. Ava responded with a single line. "I knew something was off. Thank you for confirming I'm not crazy. Nicole called me that night." "You're not wrong. Marcus," she said, "they've been talking behind your back for months. Eliza told me she felt trapped in your relationship." Trapped, I repeated. She was living rent-free in my apartment, driving my car, using my Netflix account like it was a job. Nicole sighed. "She said you weren't too stable, that it felt like a cage." I stared at the ceiling for a long moment. Too stable. The girl who couldn't budget her own paycheck, who once cried because I suggested she skip a $700 art fair to pay rent on time, called me a cage. Funny how they always want stability until it asks for loyalty. Step 2. Let karma work while you guide it. The truth had legs. It started spreading fast. Turns out, Ava had a huge following on TikTok. A few days after the wedding disaster, she posted a vague but clear video with the text overlay. "He cheated with the best man's girlfriend. At our wedding, I left in the middle of the vows. Cake was still standing. He wasn't." It went viral. Within hours, people in the comments were sleuthing, piecing together who Paul was, finding Eliza's art page, sharing the footage someone had leaked, not me, but I appreciated the help. Soon Paul's reputation tanked. His job at a boutique marketing firm, gone. Apparently, clients didn't like being associated with public infidelity. His ex-boss commented on a post, "We do not tolerate dishonesty or unethical behavior." Meanwhile, Eliza's art collective dropped her from their exhibit lineup. We can't support anyone who behaves that way. Their statement read, "It was delicious." But even then, Eliza had the audacity to text me, "Can we talk? Just once, I miss you." I didn't reply, but I stared at that message for a long time. What do you even say to that? You miss me? The person you lied to for 2 years, who you turned into a community joke. I wasn't going to waste words. Instead, I changed the locks on my apartment, boxed up her remaining things, and left them with the doorman. Then I sent her a one-line message. "Pick your stuff up by Friday. After that, it's gone." She didn't reply, but she showed up wearing the same oversized jacket she wore the night we met. "Eliza," I said, holding the door open, "you have 5 minutes." Her voice trembled. "Marcus, I didn't come here to argue. I made a mistake. I got caught up in something I didn't mean." "You meant every bit of it," I said. "You didn't trip and fall into Paul's lap for 2 years? That wasn't an accident. That was consistency." She wiped her eyes. "He told me he was leaving Ava, that you didn't love me anymore, that you just saw me as some roommate." I didn't respond. Because none of it mattered. She'd made her choices. "I'm not here for apologies." I finally said, "I just want you gone." She nodded, picked up the box, walked out without another word. That was the last time I saw her in person. Step 3. Clean house. I didn't stop with Paul and Eliza. I made a list of every person in our circle who knew or laughed or stayed silent. Then I cleaned house. Blocked, deleted, erased. If you stood by and said nothing while I was being played, you were no friend of mine. I rebuilt my circle, got back in touch with old friends I'd drifted from, started joining game nights at my coworker Jonah's place, met real people with real loyalty. I threw myself into work, landed a massive real estate contract 3 weeks later, used the commission to finally upgrade my apartment, bought a new car, one no one had defiled behind my back. I hit the gym, hard, not for the glow-up, for the clarity. Nothing heals betrayal like deadlifts and silence. And for the first time in months, my mind wasn't spinning, it was focused. Not on revenge anymore, but on freedom. Because here's the truth, no one tells you. Revenge isn't about payback. It's about taking your power back. And mine was just getting started. It's funny how silence can be louder than any apology. After Eliza walked out of my life for the last time, I expected a final message, some desperate plea, maybe even a drunken midnight call, but all I got was nothing. Just quiet, and that silence. It was peace, the kind you don't recognize at first because you're so used to walking on eggshells, the kind that creeps in slowly, like warm sun on a cold morning. One day, I realized I hadn't thought about her or Paul in hours, then days, then weeks. Turns out, healing isn't some dramatic montage with sad music and tear-streaked reflections. It's just small wins stacked on top of each other. I started reading again. Books I never had time for. I took solo hikes, bought plants I didn't kill, even learned to cook something that wasn't microwavable. My apartment, once filled with shared memories and co-owned furniture, became mine, clean, uncluttered. And my life, it was finally uncluttered too. I got promoted at work twice. My boss called me the most ruthlessly focused guy on the team. I took it as a compliment. I reconnected with old friends, friends who didn't flinch when I brought up the wedding debacle, who didn't pretend to be neutral. They chose me unequivocally. And that did more for my soul than any staged revenge ever could. But the universe has a sick sense of timing. Because just when I stopped looking over my shoulder, I ran into Eliza again. At a coffee shop downtown, middle of the afternoon. I was picking up an espresso for a client meeting. She was in line behind me, holding a wrinkled resume and wearing a tired expression that didn't match the girl I used to know. "Marcus," I turned slowly. There she was, different, thinner, paler. Her hair, once meticulously curled, was now thrown into a messy bun, and the confidence she used to wear like perfume gone. She smiled, weakly. "Wow, you look good." "Thanks," I said, flat. "You look different." We sat at a corner table. I wasn't sure why I agreed. Curiosity, maybe, or closure. She spoke first. "I wanted to say I'm sorry. Really, not the social media kind, not the half apology, just, I messed up. I destroyed something real and I know that now." I didn't interrupt. I thought Paul was exciting. I thought he understood me, but once everything fell apart, he ghosted me, blocked me, moved on like none of it mattered. I lost everything. Marcus, my friends, my job, my reputation. She looked at me, then eyes red, fingers trembling. "I deserve it," she said. For the first time, I believed her. But that didn't mean I was about to open any doors. "Eliza," I said slowly, "you didn't just cheat. You made me a joke. You laughed at me with the people I trusted most." "I know," she whispered, "and I live with that every day." She paused. "Are you with someone?" I nodded. "Yeah, I am." Her face dropped, but she managed to smile. "I'm glad. I hope she makes you happy." "She does," I said, standing up, "and the best part? She's not a liar." I left her sitting there with her resume and regrets. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. And that was better. Her name is Renee. We met at a community fundraiser. She was helping organize donations for a local shelter. Smart, witty, sharp as hell. Nothing about her screamed look at me, but I couldn't stop looking. She didn't rush me, didn't push for labels or declarations. She let me heal on my own timeline, but stayed close enough to show me she was there. On our third date, I told her everything. The wedding, the betrayal, the chaos. She listened. Really listened. Then she said, "Well, damn, that's a hell of a story." Then she smiled. "Glad you made it out." That's when I knew she didn't see me as a victim. She saw me as a survivor. We took it slow. A year in, we moved in together. A year and a half later, I proposed with a simple ring and no viral projector footage needed. She said yes. No hesitation, no half-truths, just a yes. And Paul, last I heard, he was couch surfing, bounced from job to job, blacklisted in his industry. Ava made sure every vendor and business contact knew exactly who he was and what he did. Someone told me he tried to start a podcast. Modern Masculinity. It tanked in 3 episodes. Poetic. I never saw him again. Not at reunions, not in old circles. He became a ghost, exactly what he deserved to be. And Eliza, she stayed quiet, deleted all her old social media. I heard she moved back in with her parents for a while, tried freelancing, but the art world wasn't as forgiving as she'd hoped. Eventually, people stopped talking about them, and that silence. It was justice. 2 years later, we got married on a sunny beach in the fall. Just 30 people, no drama, no theatrics, no hidden footage. Just love. Real, raw, honest love. When I stood across from Renee, I didn't think about Eliza, or Paul, or betrayal. I thought about how far I'd come, from the guy who thought loyalty guaranteed love, to the man who realized love only matters when it's returned fully, completely, and without compromise. After the vows, Renee leaned in and whispered, "You good?" I smiled. Never better. And this time, I meant it. Story 3, I never planned on airing my dirty laundry online. But here I am, laptop open, drink in hand, trying to make sense of how I ended up the villain in the story I paid for. Let me rewind. My name is Darren. I'm 35, married, 2 kids, and the founder of a mid-sized creative agency that finally took off after 10 years of sweat and ramen. My sister, Haley, is 29. She works in PR, or, as she puts it, She builds narratives for elevated brands, whatever that means. Growing up, we were close, until we weren't. Haley always had that magnetic glow. People loved her. Teachers, friends, strangers at the grocery store. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, the fixer, the wallet. So when she got engaged, I didn't hesitate. I bought her the white Mercedes she pinned on her vision board. I covered the venue, the dress, the flowers, even the 5-tier vegan cake with gold-dusted berries. Not once did she say thank you, but I told myself this is what family does. Turns out, I was wrong. The night before the wedding, we had a private dinner at the hotel's rooftop restaurant. Beautiful skyline, jazz trio playing in the corner, everyone dressed like we were attending the Met Gala. Haley sipped her wine, leaned back, and casually said, "Oh, Darren, small thing. Don't bring Marcy and the boys tomorrow." I blinked. "Sorry, what?" She smiled like she was helping me. "It's just the aesthetic. Marcy's sweet but kind of small town. You know, and your kids are adorable, but it's going to be super minimal and upscale. Think Vogue, not kindergarten chic." I stared at her. My wife Marcy held me down when I was jobless and depressed and making logos for $20 on Fiverr. My sons are 5 and 7, energetic, sure, but better behaved than half the adults I know. And now, they weren't on brand for her wedding. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You don't want my wife or kids at your wedding, but you're still cool with me paying for it." She didn't even flinch. "Darren, you're my big brother. This is what you do?" That was the moment something inside me broke. Quietly, cleanly. I stood up, finished my drink, and adjusted my sleeves. "You're right," I said. "This is exactly what I do." I left without another word. In the elevator, I called my assistant. "Emma," I said, "we're pivoting. You ready to pull some strings?" "Born ready," she replied. The next morning, I woke up early. No anger, no regret, just a razor-sharp clarity I hadn't felt in years. I kissed Marcy on the forehead as she poured coffee. "You're not going to the wedding?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "I've got something better planned." She didn't push, she just smiled and said, "Burn it down, with style." The wedding was set in a rented chateau outside the city. Ivy-covered walls, crystal chandeliers, the kind of place where influencers do their gender reveals. When I arrived, everything looked like a Pinterest board threw up on Versailles. Haley was already posing for photos, floating around in her custom silk gown with a 12-foot train. She saw me and waved. "Darren, perfect timing. We're doing family shots." I walked up, keeping my face neutral. "Whatever you need," I said, if she sensed the undertone. She ignored it. The ceremony began. Soft harp music, drones filming overhead. Haley entered like she was walking into a Chanel runway. She wanted a flawless luxury fairy tale, so I gave her one. Halfway through the vows, the first mistake arrived. A courier walked straight down the aisle with a massive silver box. "Delivery for the bride," he announced. Haley frowned. "What is this?" He opened the lid. Inside was a miniature ice sculpture of her complete with a crown, holding a phone in one hand and a stack of dollar bills in the other. People snorted. One bridesmaid laughed out loud. Haley's smile faltered. I kept a straight face. "Just thought you'd like a centerpiece that really captured your essence." The officiant tried to recover, but then came round two. 2 more staff wheeled in an oversized cake. It wasn't the pristine vanilla tower she ordered. No, it was flamingo pink, with glitter and a fondant version of her fiancé kneeling in front of a bag labeled Trust Fund. The top tier read till net worth do us part. Gasps, a few claps, one guy filmed the whole thing. Haley spun toward me, her voice ice cold. "What the hell is this?" I smiled. Arms crossed, You wanted aesthetic? I added a little satire. But I wasn't done. As she sputtered, trying to control the narrative, the doors flew open and in marched a gospel choir, in full sequence. They began to sing, but not a hymn. They belted out Gold Digger, the Kanye version. The guests lost it, phones out, people crying with laughter. Her fiancé's face turned to stone. Then came the final blow. A screen descended from the ceiling, projector on. A slideshow began to play. Clips and screenshots of Haley's private messages, all accidentally forwarded to my email weeks prior. In one, she told a friend, "Liam's family is so tacky, but hey, marrying into money is the goal, right?" Another, "I only invited my cousin because she has followers. My sister-in-law's a walking farm ad." Her fiancé Liam turned slowly. "You used me?" he asked, voice low. "No, babe, it was just..." He walked out, didn't even wait for the vows. Haley stood frozen, in her $12,000 dress, surrounded by an audience of stunned silence. I leaned in as I passed her on the way out. "Next time, don't call my wife tacky." And I left, got in my car, drove home. To my small-town wife, my wild, beautiful boys. My real life, and for the first time in years, I felt like I had finally chosen myself. The next morning, I woke up to 217 missed notifications. Texts, emails, DMs, mentions. Emma, my assistant, had already sent 3 messages. "We're viral. You need to see this." I scrolled Twitter first because if you want to see a reputation die in real time, Twitter's the place. They were all trending, and the clips, they were everywhere. One had nearly 3 million views already. Brother exposes bride mid-ceremony with projector and gospel choir. Another, she called his wife rustic. He called her out at her wedding. People were obsessed. The comment sections were savage. That fondant groom holding a trust fund bag took me out. She thought she was marrying into money, but forgot karma's not broke. The brother is unhinged. I didn't feel triumphant, not exactly, just settled. For the first time in years, my boundaries meant something. By noon, the bride herself finally reached out. I was on the back porch with Marcy, sipping coffee while the kids made mud pies in the yard. My phone rang. "Haley?" Marcy raised an eyebrow. "You gonna answer?" I sighed and pressed accept, putting her on speaker. "You destroyed me." Haley's voice cracked raspy, like she hadn't slept. "I gave you honesty." I said, "You humiliated me in front of everyone. Ryan's family, my boss, our entire network." "Funny," I said, "you didn't seem too worried about humiliating my wife and kids. That's not the same." "No," I agreed, "it's worse." There was a pause. Then, "I lost my job. Darren, my internship offers are gone. Ryan's mom told him to cut me off. I'm blacklisted in half the PR agencies in this city. I guess that's what happens when people learn who you really are." "You don't get it," she snapped, her voice rising. "I was building something, a brand, a career, a lifestyle. Now I'm a meme." Marcy sipped her coffee, unfazed. I stared at the phone. "You did that to yourself." "Haley, I just lifted the curtain." She went quiet. "Beat me," then softer, broken. Almost. "So that's it. You're just gonna abandon me." "No," I said calmly. "You abandoned me. I just finally accepted it." I hung up. She didn't call back. Not that day. Not the next. But the world sure kept talking. 3 days later, I got a call from my mother. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Then texted, "You need to call me. It's urgent." I answered on the 3rd try. "Hi, Mom." Darren, she said, what the hell happened at the wedding? You saw the clips. I said, emotionless. You tell me. She's devastated. She's also not 12 anymore. My mom's voice hardened. You humiliated your sister. I laughed. No, Mom, I let her reveal herself. I just made sure people were watching. There was a long pause. Then she said something that caught me off guard. She's living in a hotel. She maxed out her credit card. Ryan canceled everything. Again, I said, sounds like a her problem. She's your sister, Darren. And Marcy's my wife. And Ben and Theo are my kids. You think they didn't feel humiliated when she said they weren't good enough to be seen? She didn't mean it. She did. I cut in. She meant every word. And she meant them for years. That's who Haley is. Another long silence. Then I just hope you can live with this. I sleep fine, I said, and hung up. And I did, for weeks. The dust settled eventually, the algorithm moved on, but Haley didn't. She dropped off social media entirely. Word through the grapevine said she couldn't get hired anywhere in PR. No one wanted a bridezilla who got publicly exposed by her own brother. People remembered her voice on that projector. They remembered her calling Ryan an investment. They remembered the fondant sculpture with the crown and cash. It stuck. And for once, I didn't clean up her mess. But I wasn't gloating. I wasn't watching from the shadows. I was living. Marcy and I finally took that trip we'd been putting off, rented a cabin upstate. Let the kids feed goats and sleep in bunk beds. No phones, just nature and peanut butter sandwiches and breathing again. I forgot what peace felt like until that trip. Then one day, back in the office, Emma buzzed me. Hey, Darren, she said, there's someone in the lobby, says she's your sister. I stared at the phone for a second. Of course. Give me 5, I said, buttoning my jacket. I stepped out, and there she was. No designer coat, no stilettos, just jeans, a hoodie, and swollen eyes. Hey, she whispered. Hey, we stood there in silence. I didn't come to fight, she said, or beg? Good, I said. I came to apologize. I raised an eyebrow. For what, exactly? For all of it, she said, for calling Marcy rustic, for using your money like it was owed to me, for thinking image mattered more than family. I lost everything. Darren. And it turns out, the version of me I was building wasn't worth much without people who actually cared. She paused, swallowed hard. I know I don't deserve your help. I just wanted to say it. She turned to leave. But this time, something in me shifted. Wait. She turned back. I'm not giving you money. I said. She nodded. I didn't ask. But there's an admin role at one of our branches. Entry level. It's yours if you want it. Prove yourself. Start over. Her eyes widened. Are you serious? Don't thank me yet. I said, it's work, not forgiveness. She nodded. I'll take it. Then she left. And that was enough. For now, I didn't tell anyone, not Marcy, not my parents, that I gave Haley a job. I wasn't keeping secrets. I just didn't want congratulations for doing the bare minimum of human decency. Besides, I needed to see for myself what she'd do with the opportunity. The role was basic office coordinator at our downtown branch. No prestige, no perks, just a desk, a task list, and a clock to punch. And to her credit, she showed up. Early, actually. First week, she was quiet, didn't cause a ripple, took notes, asked questions, kept her head down. By the third week, one of the senior staff emailed me. Your sister's actually kinda killing it. Organized, polite, even helped on board a new guy who was completely lost. Didn't expect that. Neither did I. It didn't erase what she did, but it raised an eyebrow. I didn't talk to her at work. She reported to someone else? I didn't want special treatment clouding the process or her effort. But one Friday, as I was walking past the break room, I caught a glimpse of her. She was sitting alone, eating a salad from a plastic container. No phone out, no designer bag on the table. Just a woman trying to stay afloat. That night, I told Marcy. "You gave her a job," she said, blinking. I nodded. "She didn't deserve it," I added quickly, "but I needed to know she could earn something on her own." Marcy tilted her head, studying me. "And do you think she can—" "I don't know," I said, "but if she does, it won't be because I held her hand." Marcy shrugged. "She's still banned from Thanksgiving, though." Obviously, a month passed. Then too, by the time spring rolled around, Haley had become something of an unofficial fixer in the office. "Need a spreadsheet cleaned? Ask Haley. Printer jammed and no IT in sight. Haley's your girl." She didn't complain, didn't flirt her way through meetings, didn't act like the room owed her air. I started hearing new stories. Like how she gave her lunch to a courier who'd missed his break, or how she stayed late helping a single mom finish a deadline so she could pick up her kid on time. None of it went viral, but maybe that was the point. Maybe she was learning how to live without applause. Still, I didn't trust it, not fully. I'd seen too many rebrands in my life to believe everyone was sincere, so I waited. Watched, and then came the test I didn't plan. Emma, my assistant, barged into my office one Tuesday morning holding a folder. "You need to see this," she said. It was a leaked email. One of our junior staffers had shared it by accident with the wrong thread. It included a confidential bid we'd submitted for a major client. One of our competitors could have used it to undercut us. Luckily, it hadn't gone public yet, but we needed to do damage control, fast. Within an hour, Emma called a staff meeting to investigate. And guess who found the smoking gun? Haley. She traced the email, identified the source, and even found out the file hadn't been opened by anyone outside our company. Crisis averted. She didn't brag, didn't take credit. She just handed Emma a report and went back to alphabetizing invoices. That night, Emma called me. She didn't even flinch. She said, "No theatrics, just did the work." I hung up and stared at my ceiling. Something had shifted. Maybe not everything, but something. 2 weeks later, I invited her to lunch. Neutral spot, outdoor patio, 1 block from the office. She arrived early. No makeup, no sunglasses, just Haley. She ordered a lemonade. I stuck with water. We sat in silence for a bit. Then she spoke. "I thought you'd never reach out. I wanted to see if you'd quit." "I almost did," she said, smiling faintly. "That first day I cried in the bathroom for 30 minutes. I hated myself. Hated that I was starting over in a job where I had no leverage, no reputation, nothing." I raised an eyebrow. "And now?" She shrugged. "Now I'm learning to be useful." Quietly. "That's new," I said. She nodded. "Yeah." There was a long pause. Then I asked what had been sitting in my chest for months. "Why did you say those things? Haley, about Marcy? About the boys? About your wedding?" She looked down at her glass. I was scared. She said, "Of being average, of not being impressive. Ryan's family was rich and polished. I thought if I could fake my way into that world long enough, I'd finally feel like I mattered." She looked up at me. But the truth is, I didn't even like myself back then. I just knew how to perform. I exhaled. She continued, "You were always real. You built something. You loved your family. I envied that. So I tried to create my own version of success, even if it meant cutting out the people who didn't fit the photo." She paused, then added quietly, "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, and I'm not asking for it. I get it now." I looked at her for a long moment, then said the only thing that felt true. I believe you. I didn't throw a party. Didn't make a speech, but that night, I went home and hugged my wife a little longer. Read an extra story to the boys, and let myself feel a sliver of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not revenge, not even justice. Just peace. A year passed. 12 full months since the wedding explosion that shattered everything and rebuilt something better. Haley stayed in the entry-level job for 6 months, never asked for special treatment, never acted like my sister in the office. She was just another employee, trying to rebuild from ground zero. By month 7, her manager came to me with a proposal. She's ready, he said. Promote her or risk losing her. She's good. I thought about it long and hard, not because she wasn't capable, but because I needed to be sure the decision was based on her work, not our bloodline. After reviewing her files, talking to her team, and honestly just watching her quietly take on more responsibility than asked, I signed off. She became team lead. Not executive, not partner, but a step up. Earned. By then, even Marcy noticed. She's different, Marcy said one night as we folded laundry. I saw her at the company picnic helping the interns clean up. She even played tag with the boys. I didn't ask her to. I know, she said. That's why I'm telling you. I nodded slowly. I didn't think she'd ever get it. Marcy smiled. Maybe losing everything was the only way she could. I didn't forget what she did. Let's be clear. Haley humiliated my wife, devalued my kids, and used my money like it was a given. That kind of betrayal doesn't just disappear. You don't snap your fingers and say, oh well, all's forgiven. But I also realized something else. Forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. Because dragging someone's past like a rusted anchor doesn't just slow them down, it drowns you too. And I was tired of carrying the weight, so I let it go. Not in some dramatic tear-filled moment, not with a social media post or a performative hug. Just one simple gesture. I invited her to dinner. Our house, nothing fancy, just grilled chicken, mashed potatoes, and whatever chaos the boys were cooking up in the playroom. Marcy raised her eyebrows when I told her. Sure about this, she asked. I nodded. She's earned a meal, not a pedestal, but a place at the table. That night, Haley showed up 10 minutes early. With store-bought cookies and flowers for Marcy, she didn't wear heels or fake lashes. Just jeans and a ponytail. She helped set the table, laughed at my kids' bad jokes, and didn't even flinch when one of them spilled juice on her lap. Later, after the boys were asleep and Marcy went to run a bath, Haley and I sat on the back porch. She held her lemonade like it was wine. You ever think we'd get here? She asked. No, I said honestly. Me either. We sat in silence for a bit, the kind only siblings can share. I don't expect things to be how they used to be, she said softly. Good, I said, because they never will be. She looked down, nodded. I know, but we don't have to be strangers either, I added. She smiled, eyes glossy. That's more than I hoped for. Over the next few months, Haley continued proving herself at work and outside of it. She didn't move back into luxury. No new designer handbags, no influencer comeback. She stayed in a small apartment near her job, took public transportation, and spent weekends volunteering at a youth mentoring program. One time, she told me, helping girls who remind me of who I used to be, it's humbling and weirdly healing. I believed her. She still had sharp edges, still had a flair for drama when it came to retelling bad date stories, but there was a groundedness now. She wasn't performing. She was just being. Then one day, the past tried to crawl back in. I got an email from Ryan. Yes, that Ryan, Haley's ex-fiancé. The one who ditched her post-projector scandal and ghosted faster than a guilty man at a courthouse. Subject line coffee. I stared at the screen. Then I opened it. Hey Darren, I know it's been a while. I've been meaning to reach out, but, well, you can imagine. I was wondering if we could talk. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I wanted to set the record straight man to man. I laughed out loud. Set the record straight. After ghosting my sister when his perfect wedding image imploded, I hit reply. Ryan, no coffee, no conversation. You had your chance to be a man. You passed, Darren. I blocked his email. Didn't mention it to Haley. She didn't need to know. Some ghosts deserve to stay buried. 2 years after the wedding fallout, Haley invited us to her apartment for a small birthday dinner. Just family, pizza, a homemade cake that looked like it had survived a small tornado but tasted great. Marcy brought wine. The boys brought chaos. Haley brought peace. And somewhere between the off-key birthday song and Theo smearing frosting on his forehead, I realized something I never expected to feel again. I was proud of my sister. Not because she had rebuilt her life, but because she finally understood what mattered. Family, respect, work that meant something. She had lost everything chasing an image and found herself chasing purpose. That was the best kind of revenge. Not the public shaming, not the memes or trending hashtags. Not even the satisfaction of watching her crumble. No, the real win was this. She rose from the ashes, not because she deserved a second chance, but because she earned one, on her own. Looking back now, I don't regret the wedding explosion. It needed to happen. It ripped the mask off a toxic pattern I had enabled for years. It broke everything wide open. And from that chaos, we all found something real. Me, I got peace. Marcy, she got vindication. Haley, she got perspective. Sometimes revenge stories don't end with someone in ruins. Sometimes, if you're lucky, they end with someone rebuilt. Not perfect, but real. And that, for me, was enough.